Still waiting on you.
Hi everyone, Ramon Scott out here at Helix High School. It's Thursday night. I've got the preview, East County preview for you as we get ready for Helix and Otay Ranch. This game's been moved to Thursday. There's been a handful of games moved to Thursday this year to accommodate the officiating crews. We just don't have enough of them to play all the games on Friday night, so it's kind of neat to come out here on a Thursday night and have the Mustangs and the Highlanders in a pretty good ball game. Helix a pretty big favorite here. One thing that these teams will do, they'll get a little extra attention for this. The 6th-ranked Scotties play Otay for the second straight year following a 29-14 victory in the South Bay, also in Week 2 of last season. This year, however, the Mustangs will be guided by a familiar name to East County fans as Brad Burton retakes over as head coach, if you will, for the second time. You know, he guided the Mustangs, the former Granite Hills great, if you will, back in 2007 and 2008, going 11-9-1 over 2 seasons. Just as they did last season, Helix opened the campaign this year with a win over Mira Mesa last Friday, albeit in much different fashion than last year's game. You know, last year, Helix won the game in Week 1, 28-20 at home, rushing for 273 yards. But last week, the Highlanders passed for 206 yards and 4 touchdowns from Rylan Jesse to Quincy Heron in a 41-21 season-opening win over the Marauders on the road. Meanwhile, the Mustangs, they got rocked at home last week to Madison, a team that they defeated, upset really last year, 19-14 in Week 1. This points to Helix being a pretty big favorite out here tonight. You know, Heron, the 4 touchdowns that he scored last week is really kind of a record setter. It only been done about a dozen times in East County history, and one Helix player did it twice in one season, and that was the great Alan Durden, who went on to play at the University of Arizona and was one of the best defensive backs in the nation. You know, the Highlanders' offensive focus appears to be shifted through to the air with junior quarterback Rylan Jesse and their offensive coordinator Taylor Gunnisser, who is the head coach of the strike force of the Indoor Football League. He's a former indoor football star, if you will, for 4 years. So for all the Scotties' success that they've had on the ground over the last couple of seasons, right now they look a little bit more versatile, if you will, maybe playing with their strong hand with Jesse at quarterback, maybe relying more on the passing game. When you can get a tight end to come in with 7 catches and 4 touchdowns, that's kind of a more of a pro-style situation, looking good for the Helix Highlanders. They still possess a pretty potent running game. Junior Kevin Allen is the man right now. He had 111 yards on 13 carries in the opener. The Highlanders really should have little trouble tonight. The defense led by junior Jeremiah Savanea. And Otay Ranch, a pretty good team. They were up against one of the top teams in the county last week. They got a deep connection early from quarterback Makai Corpus to sophomore Johnny Welburn. Made the game 7-all early, but before they allowed 40 unanswered points to the Warhawks. Mira Mesa passed for 146 yards and gained 234 yards against Helix last week. Helix leads the all-time series 2-1-1, winning the last 2. The last tie, which was also the last tie in Scotties' history, was in 2008, and that was 19-all. Number 11, Steel Canyon, is going to take on number 3, Madison. The Cougars' Major Givens rushed for 232 yards and 3 touchdowns on 14 carries in the season opener last Friday as Steel Canyon routed Invader Heritage of Menifee 41-30. Steel Canyon's Michael Dodds had a 17-yard touchdown reception from Joshua Herber, the quarterback, and he also passed for 113 yards. Mike Lindley had a 3-yard touchdown run and 2 catches for 72 yards. The Warhawks won 22-21 at Steel Canyon last season, and Madison is expected to be one of the top teams in the county once again this season, following the season opening win over Otay Ranch. Givens was held to just 66 yards in this game last season. Quentin Stevens did have 5 receptions in last year's game. He's a senior this year. Madison's Tyson Bryant rushed for 130 yards and a touchdown, and quarterback Reggie Johnson completed 7 of 16 passes for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns to Madison senior Jake Jackson in the win over this Otay Ranch team last Friday. Defensively, James Tubau returns for Madison. He had 13 tackles, including 2 for loss and forced a fumble. Teammate Lawson Minshew had 7 tackles, a sack, and recovered a fumble for a touchdown. Madison leads the all-time series 3-1 with the Cougar win coming 19-14 at the Madhouse back in 2019. I've got Madison winning that one by 2 touchdowns. The West Hills Wolfpack are coming off a smashing victory at Grossmont, and they'll face The Imperial Tigers out in the Imperial Valley, they'll be making their season debut, the Tigers. West Hills defeated Imperial 21-7 in Santee last season. The Pack almost pulled off a road shutout at Grossmont last week. The Foothillers scored their first points of the game with under 1 minute to go. West Hills got touchdown runs from Diego Calderon, Colin Dill, and Nathan Stevens, and also a 52-yard a field goal from Tyler Haley, who also had a 52-yard punt. This game figures to be closely rated. Both teams are contenders in Division III. The Wolfpack defense looks to be for real with seniors Braden Wilson, Rye Schultz, and Gavin Condon. Imperial out-scrimmaged Sweetwater at the San Diego Friday Night Lights preseason game 2 weeks ago. The Tigers were 6-5 overall last season, but were eliminated by Santana 24-21 in overtime, and West Hills is currently rated above Santana. Imperial does to be figure to be improved this season, but I've got West Hills winning this one by 3 points. Christian's going to be taking on Bishops. Christian's 0-1. Bishops is 1-0. The Knights and Patriots have one of the best rivalries of all the small schools in the county. Christian leads the series 11-8, but the teams have met 9 times over the years in the playoffs, with Bishops winning 5 of those. The Patriots will be able to score this week after getting shut out for the first time since 2018, and that was against Cathedral Catholic in a game that was halted due to lightning, if you remember that week in 2018. The 9th-ranked Ramona Bulldogs knocked off the Patriots 28-0 last week in a bit of a stunning result. Before that, you have to go back to 2011 when the Patriots suffered a 35-0 season-opening setback to the Hoover Cardinals. You know, the Knights and Patriots rivalry is usually an offensive affair, although the teams haven't met since 2016 in the Division II championship game when the Knights won that one 49-20 at Southwestern College. In 2010, the teams combined for 100 points in a 56-44 Bishops victory. There's little doubt the Patriots have a top-tier offense against teams of their caliber, but going up against a top-10 team in Ramona last week proved to be futile. Christian had just 135 yards of total offense. The Patriots were led defensively by seniors Brady Bingham and Aaron Shabloski. The Knights knocked off La Jolla 28-7 with a strong defensive effort of their own, holding the Vikings to 187 yards of total offense, including 75 yards passing. Christian will be looking to build its confidence, but I think Bishops will win this one by 11. Granite Hills will take on Valhalla. Granite Hills and Valhalla, give them credit for trying to keep this series going and extending this rivalry, but it's just not working out these days. The last 4 seasons, it's been 204-13 in favor of Granite Hills. Last year was 62-0. Before that, 56-7. Before that, 43-6, and before that, it was 43-0. The series is Granite Hills 31-17, but over the last 30 meetings, it's 15-all. In the last 14 meetings, it's 7-all. Granite Hills fell short at number 8 Poway last week, 31-19 after leading 10-0. The Titans rushed for 217 yards against the Eagles. The Norsemen, meanwhile, fell to Hilltop 28-14 in the head coaching debut of Wayne Cherry at Valhalla. He is a Valhalla alumnus. Trevor Dogwood had a 74-yard fumble return for a touchdown, and junior Dominic Silva had a 33-yard touchdown run. Valhalla trailed 14-7 at halftime and 21-7 after 3 quarters. This one will not be close. I've got Granite Hills winning this one by 6 touchdowns. Okay, Grossmont's going to travel up to take on El Camino. These two teams are meeting for just the second time in as many years. Last year, the Foothillers took a 35-22 win at home as Grossmont got off to a 2-0 start. Grossmont passed for 241 yards against the Wildcats. However, every single yard and every single point was accomplished by a now graduated player. The Hillers will need to pull off an upset to avoid a reverse of that fate. Grossmont was nearly shut out last week at home at National Stadium by the Wolfpack. The Foothillers got a touchdown pass from junior quarterback Hudson Herbert's Nolan Kelly in the game's final minute to avoid the first shutout since 2018. The Wildcats defeated rebuilding St. Augustine 29-13 as quarterback Carson Howard had 122 yards of total offense, passing for a touchdown and rushing for another. The Foothillers had trouble against West Hills' stout offense. It doesn't get any easier this week as El Camino features standout defender Braden French, Tiasulu Misafia Pia, and Taj Tavale. The last time Grossmont opened up 0-2 was in 2005, and why? That's because the Hillers were 14-2 in their season openers before West Hills stopped them cold last week. I've got El Camino winning this one by 18. You know the atmosphere is great out here in Helix, and I'm working up a sweat to get this information to you right before the kickoff, and I'm having fun out here. So let's keep rolling with El Capitan and Hilltop. Both teams coming in looking pretty good. The Vaqueros roll through Canyon Hills at home, 37-6 to open the season. The Vaqueros quarterback tandem of Bruce Newland and Brant Barker combined for 260 yards through the air against the Rattleless Rattlers. Receiver Julian May had touchdown receptions of 54 and 38 yards as El Capitan beat Canyon Hills for the second straight year on opening night. Angel Diaz, the senior for El Capitan, provided some offensive balance on the ground with 68 yards. El Capitan had 5 takeaways in the game as Michael Segovia, Austin Cordero, and May each had an interception. Segovia and sophomore Chance LaChapa both had a fumble recovery. LaChapa had 2 touchdowns as well. The Lancers won against another Grossmont Valley League team, 28-14 over the Valhalla Norsemen. Hilltop rushed for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, led by senior George Garcia, who had 118 yards and 2 of the scorers. The Vaqueros won last year 42-0 in Lakeside and figured to be a considerable favorite, even against a little bit improved team of Hilltop on the road. I got El Capitan by 10 points. The Hoover Cardinals and El Cajon Valley Braves entered the season rated right next to each other in the middle of Division 5 power rankings. The two teams figure to be battling for playoff berths this season, and this could be an important result for the two clubs. Hoover won last season 30-14 at Breitbart Stadium. El Cajon Valley performed admirably in the first half in a 27-13 loss at Mission Bay last Friday night. The score was 13-all at halftime. Senior Cal L. Gordon rushed for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Braves. He's also one of the team's leading defensive players, lining up at linebacker. The Braves rushed for 167 yards against the Bucks. Mission Bay passed for 222 yards, but Hoover doesn't possess nearly the same firepower as the Bucks. The Cardinals lost to Mountain Empire last week, 21-14. The Redhawks had a tough time slowing Sid Autry, who rushed for 152 yards on 16 carries. Hoover does have maybe the best female player in the county, at least that's not a kicker, in junior center Emmy Martinez. The Braves lead the all-time series 3-2. This one's probably close to a toss-up. I got the Braves winning this one by, 4 points. Okay, I think we still roll. We're not in with the national anthem just yet. So let's think about that Monte Vista and Kearney. The Monarchs snapped a 12-game losing streak last Friday night and ended the program's longest losing skid since 1965. That's 15 games. The Monarchs won behind their typical running game as backs Uziel Avalos, Matthew Felix, and Daniel Renteria combined for 296 yards. Avalos, a senior, and Renteria, a junior, both scored a pair of touchdowns. Monte Vista sophomore Alexander Villanueva had a 37-yard interception return for a touchdown. The Kearney Comets also scored a win on opening night 35-30 over San Ysidro. Kearney sophomore Brody Stump is the one to watch. He passed for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 81 yards and a touchdown. However, he did toss 3 interceptions. Stump scored on a 6-yard run with 6 seconds to play for the winning touchdown. Senior receiver Isaiah Sutton caught 13 passes for 204 yards and an eye-catching performance. In all 6 different Comets caught at least 2 passes. Senior Max Vaughn, he's a strong two-way player for Kearney. He had 3 receptions last week, including a touchdown, and added a sack. Kearney won the initial encounter in 2012, 27-14. Since then, Monte Vista's had the winning way, 50-0, 28-27, 49-7, and 19-6. This is the first meeting since 2016. This certainly will be a contrast of styles. Monte Vista rarely runs, and the Comets are passing at a 3-1 ratio. I have Kearney winning this one 28-21. Getting ready to just about start this game, folks. So let's keep the show going, and we'll join a little bit of the action here. I've got just a few more games to cover as they get this one underway, folks. So we'll take a look at Mount Miguel and Chula Vista. The Matadors have one of the top underclass passing combos in the county, and quarterback Matthew Barton and receiver Jeremiah Castillo. The pair hooked up for 3 touchdowns last week in the Matadors' season lid lifter. They really were outclassed against Sweetwater in a 42-0 game. The Matadors also have another threat on the outside, and veteran senior Chris Akridge, who scored the county's first touchdown of the season on a short pass from Castillo. He turned that one into a touchdown. Barton passed for 161 yards and 5 touchdowns in his Red Devils senior debut with Steel Canyon last year. He had just 1 touchdown pass. So Chula Vista was in a thriller last Friday with La Jolla Country Day before falling 30-27. We're going to have to take just a break here. We're going to have the national anthem. I hope you stick with me here and get back to the Chula Vista Mount Miguel game, and I can catch my breath and wipe my brow. All right, you got some of the atmosphere out here. We're not going to bring you the game covers, but let me just wrap these up real quick. I want to watch some of this game. Continuing on with Mount McGill, senior Jesse Murgia led the defense with a sack. The Matadors have 3 shutouts in their last 9 games dating back to last season. Spartan senior quarterback Jacob Pedroza had 225 yards of total offense. That's a Chula Vista rush for nearly 200 yards against the Tories. The Spartans lead the series 7-3, but the Matadors have won 3 of their last 5. I've got Mount McGill winning this one by 2 touchdowns. Santana will take on Montgomery. The Sultans have won 7 straight meetings against the Aztecs, including 4 consecutive wins. It was a tough opener. 4-point Loma in that one. The Sultans will have the senior quarterback Nick Ledger. He's protected up front by Aiden Dolan and also junior Josh Bowen and senior Ryan Rowe. Taking some of the snaps at quarterback was Alex Rico. Last week also running back the Sultans used senior Fabian Ibarra. Don't have much on the Sultans this week. I've got Santana winning 17-14. Mountain Empire is going to take on San Diego Southwest. The Redhawks won on the road last week at Hoover 20-14. The Cardinals were in Mountain Empire territory when a personal foul penalty at a critical moment in the fourth quarter kind of ended that one. Corey Van had 3 touchdowns. I've got Mountain Empire winning this one by a touchdown. For EastCountySports.com, I'm Ramon Scott.